partner. I'm Martin Peters, and today I will be your guide as we talk about renewable energy. And this chapter actually is in fulfillment for the requirement for my class, Technology Tools for Summer 2012. One of the main things that we have in today's society is trying to understand what alternative fuels are and why alternative fuels are important. I typically teach a class called Physical Topics, Current Issues in the Physical Sciences. And students always ask, Professor Peters, how can we, on maybe a mobile device, be able to get your lecture? So today I will be talking about how to look and understand alternative fuels. So at the conclusion of this lecture, students should be able to understand the reason for seeking alternative fuels, the major source of renewable energies, bioenergy, hydroelectric, solar energy, wind energy, geothermal, ocean, and hydrogen fuel cells. So, we will start talking initially about a central case in Germany. So Germany goes solar. Germany produces the most solar PV, which is photovoltaic solar power in the world, yet the country is cool and very cloudy. Unfortunately, in the US, federal policy don't typically offer incentive to produce solar energy, but in Germany it actually does so. And German industries are indeed the world leaders in green tech. Its leaders see renewable as a great economic opportunity, and it can be seen as a model for others around the world. Why are nations looking for renewable energy sources? Because they want to move away from fossil fuels while ensuring a reliable and safe energy supply. We know nuclear energy, you may hear a lot about talk with nuclear energy. It's the main non-renewable alternative. But renewables includes, we could move from biomass, hydroelectric. These are well established and widely used. The new renewables are not yet and are still being developed. Some of them are electricity, heating of air or water, and fuel for vehicles. And there's a huge push right now for green-collar jobs. Actually, I sit on a panel for the Illinois Community College Board that talks about, it's called the Illinois Sustainable Network, it used to be called, or Illinois Green Economy Network, which talks about how do we sustain green-collar jobs in the state of Illinois. So, alternative to fossil fuels. So our global economy is powered by fossil fuels. 81% of all our energy comes from oil, coal, or natural gas. They power 2/3 of all the world's electricity. And from the pie charts, the breakdown for oil, coal, and natural gas, and just the non-renewable, you see it's significant, it's very small compared to the normal fossilized fuel. And actually it's not more than actually about 16% of all the world's renewable source, both from energy supply and electrical supply. So renewables are growing faster than conventional energy. Wind power grows as much as 50% a year. And the next two slides show the U.S. consumption of renewable energy by source, both from electrical perspective and an energy perspective. Policy can really accelerate our transition. Unfortunately, the political will is not currently in existence to try to switch to renewable overnight. We still have a lot of technological and economic barriers, and a lot of these barriers are political. Conventional sources, as our main oil companies, get government subsidies and tax breaks. And usually these policies keep fossilized fuels very cheap, which hurts renewable. From a pie charts, nuclear energy is about a $48 billion, fossilized fuels are $20 billion, efficiency is 11.7, all renewable energies is simply 12.4 billion. So there's a huge opportunity to move from fossilized fuels to renewable energies. So we'll talk about different types of energy now. There's bioenergy, which is called biomass energy, and bioenergy is energy obtained from biomass, organic material from living or recently living organism, and it can include wood, charcoal, agriculture crops, manure. The sustainable use of bioenergies require careful consideration of biomass source. Because we have to understand that over 1 billion people use wood for heat, cooking, and light. So we have to be able to make a correlation, or we have to make a distinction about how we will take energy from food sources to use it for energy sources. Bioenergy now comes from a variety of diverse sources. Developing energies use wood for heating and cooking. Biomass is renewable only if it's not over-harvested, because over-harvesting causes deforestation, erosion, and desertification. Biopower is another source, as burned in power plant, and it generates heat and electricity. And biofuels, you may hear a lot of talk about in the U.S. currently, is liquid fuels used to power or cars or trucks or automotive vehicles. Biopower also generates electricity. And some of the waste products that we can use is wood debris, pulp, mill waste, or crop residue. And they're actually using bioenergy crops now, which are fast-growing willow trees, bamboo, switchgrass, to actually now use these to develop bioenergy sources. Combustible strategies are co-firing or gasification, which turns the biomass to steam. Pyrolysis also produces a liquid fuel. The benefits and drawback is biopower increases efficiency, it reduces CO2, but one of the problems it does, it reduces the crops of the nutrients that is necessary, so the soil becomes progressively depleted. So, biofuels, we know in the U.S., especially in the Midwest, the gasoline has to use 10% of ethanol. And ethanol is a biofuel made from fermenting carbohydrate-rich crops. It's added to U.S. gasolines to reduce emission. And in 2010, we had over 13 billion gallons were made in the U.S. from corn. You know, corn is used in 80% of most of the stuff, the crops, and most of the products that we use on a typical day-to-day place. Congressional mandate is now requiring that to increase ethanol production. Cars can also run on ethanol. We have flexible fuel run on E85, which is 85% ethanol, 15% gasoline, and 9 million cars are in the U.S. that are flexible fuel. The gas, which is crushed sugarcane residues, can also be used for ethanol. In the U.S., you find that the majority of ethanol comes from corn, but in Brazil, mostly ethanol comes from sugarcane. But unfortunately, ethanol may not be sustainable. Environmental scientists, including myself, as an environmental engineer, don't like corn-based ethanol because growing corn impacts the ecosystem, fertilization, irrigation, and it also takes up precious land. And it also competes with food because what we're doing, we're taking products from the food cycle to make fuel to power our vehicles. And growing corn also uses what? Energy for equipment, pesticides, transportation to processing plant. Biodiesel, which is typically used in our trucks, comes from vegetable oil, cooking grease, and animal fats. And vehicles can run on 100% biodiesel, or B20, which means it's only 20% biodiesel. Biodiesel also reduces emission. Its fuel economy is good. It costs a little bit more than gasoline, and crops are especially grown using land and deforestation. You know, we're using very innovative efforts in terms of figuring out how to use biofuels. Other crops are used: wheat, sorghum, sugar beets, hemp, and grass. Cellulose ethanol is produced from structural plant material, which is the corn stalk. So it's a huge push to be using cellulose ethanol and not corn itself, but using corn stalk to actually make your biofuel because it has no really significant food value. Is bioenergy carbon neutral? In principle, it produces no net carbon. Photosynthesis removes carbon that's released when biomass is burned. And burning biomass is not carbon neutral. Hydroelectric power, hydro. So hydroelectric power uses the kinetic energy of moving water to turn turbines to generate electricity. So it has pump storage. It has run-a-river storage technique, which is water stored in reservoir behind dams. This used to turn the turbines. Pump storage means water is pumped to high reservoir and flowed downwards through a turbine. Here's what a typical dam should look like. And in their pictures, you can see we have Ice Harbor Dam for Snake River, Washington, and a turbine generated inside McNairy Dam in Columbia River. On the right-hand side, it's a schematic about exactly how hydroelectric is generated from the dam, from the reservoir, going all the way down to the turbine and the generator. That's what a typical dam should look like. The good thing with hydroelectric is clean and renewable. It has two clear advantages over fossilized fuel. It's renewable as long as precipitation falls. So we can use the water to turn the turbines. It's clean. There's no CO2, carbon dioxide emitted, and it's very efficient. So what are the drawbacks? It has dams and rivers destroy wildlife habitats. Upstream areas are submerged. Natural flooding are disruptive, and water temperature are changed. Also, you block the passage of fish, fragmenting rivers and reducing biodiversity. So it may not expand very much. Why? Because even though they've helped many nations develop, but because most of the world's large rivers have been dammed, and 98% of the U.S. rivers have been dammed, and the rest are protected. Solar energy. Solar energy is, we have passive solar, where buildings are designed to absorb maximum absorption of light in winter. It keeps cool in the summer, low south-facing windows. So solar energy is what can be used because each square meter of the earth receives 17 times the energy of a light bulb. We have active solar, which is where we use to collect energy. Technology is used to focus, move, and store solar energy. Over 1.5 million U.S. households and business heat water with solar collectors. Most are in swimming pool. The diagram shows you what a typical solar system should look like. So we'll take a pause now to come back in our next lecture where we will talk more about how we will use other sources of energy to really improve our non-renewable source. Not our non-renewable source, but our renewable source of energy. Until next time, this is Marty Peters saying goodbye and see you on the next time. Finish it?